Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to get right into the core of really fascinating topics, pulling out the key insights for
Yeah,
you.
getting beneath the surface.
Exactly. And today, we're looking at something I think many of us grapple with. What happens when, our quest for technological perfection actually ends up causing new problems, especially somewhere steeped in tradition?
Like sports.
Right. We are diving deep into the Wimbledon AI judge controversy from 2025. It's a perfect example, really, of how even the most advanced tech can hit some very human snags. We're heading to one of the biggest stages in sport.
And it's such a critical story because it goes way beyond just tennis, doesn't it? It taps into this huge global conversation we're all having about integrating AI everywhere.
It really does.
And, the promise was flawless tech, perfect calls. But the reality, well, it threw up some challenges nobody quite expected, showing that there's still a human element, often in quite ironic ways.
Definitely ironic. So yeah, our deep dive today unpacks that Wimbledon AI judge controversy. We'll look at what specifically went wrong, the immediate reactions, how Wimbledon responded, and crucially, the bigger debate this whole thing kicked off about the future of officiating, not just in tennis, but everywhere.
It seems straightforward. Tech makes things better, smoother.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But this Wimbledon situation, it's much more complex and honestly pretty fascinating. Okay, so let's set the scene. Imagine Wimbledon 2025, the All England Club, not just any tournament year.
No, this was supposed to be historic.
Right, because for the first time in its, 148-year history, they decided to eliminate all human line judges.
Completely.
A massive step, just gone. And they brought in this AI-powered system, Hawkeye Live, to replace them.
Can you maybe quickly explain what Hawkeye Live is for those who aren't familiar?
Sure. It's basically a network of high-speed cameras set up all around the court. It uses triangulation fancy math, basically to track the ball and pinpoint exactly where it lands instantly, in real time.
And the goal was?
Sure.
Well, the stated benefits were pretty clear. Remove human bias, subconscious or otherwise, from line calls,
Okay.
and deliver what they hoped would be near perfect accuracy, point after point. It felt like the next logical step for fairness in the game.
Near perfect accuracy. That was the promise. But as often happens when you roll out major new tech in a high-pressure environment, reality bites, right? What were the first signs that maybe this wasn't going to be quite so smooth?
Yeah, the cracks started showing pretty quickly, actually, right there on center court. The first big incident, it happened during a women's match, Sonia Kartal versus Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova.
Okay, what went wrong?
Well, bizarrely, the entire AI system got switched off.
Just
Off for a whole game.
switched off. How?
That's the kicker. It missed at least 3 crucial calls in that game. Play had to be stopped, point replayed, and the official reason given later: human oversight. An official had apparently just accidentally switched the system off.
You're kidding. A system designed to eliminate human error.
Was taken down by simple human error. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, believe me.
Wow. And was that it? Or were there other issues?
Unfortunately, no, it wasn't isolated. There was another quote-unquote malfunction later in a men's quarterfinal, Taylor Fritz against Karen Khachanov.
Same sort of thing.
Similar result, anyway. A point had to be replayed because of an issue with the system's call. It just added fuel to the fire, made people even more skeptical. It showed that even if the AI itself was okay, managing it, the human part, was still a weak link.
So when the tech starts to wobble, the human reaction often gets amplified, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What was the immediate fallout? How did players, fans, the traditionalists react?
Oh, the reaction was fast and very public. You had top British players, Emma Raducanu, Jack Draper, speaking out pretty strongly against it.
What were they saying?
Raducanu specifically mentioned a moment where she felt a ball was clearly out, but the AI didn't call it. Cost her a big point. So it wasn't just abstract criticism, it was impacting matches. It really shook their trust in the system.
And beyond just the calls themselves, were there other practical problems?
Yes, definitely. Communication was a big one. Some players complained the automated voice making the calls, the outcalls, was too quiet.
Too quiet. In the middle of a Wimbledon match.
Yeah, hard to hear over the crowd, the hitting, which obviously affects how quickly you can react, whether you challenge, how you play the next point. It's a practical detail, but a crucial one.
That makes sense.
And then there was an accessibility issue that came up. Really important point. At least one deaf player pointed out that without the human line judges making clear hand signals, she sometimes couldn't tell immediately if she'd won the point or not.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
Right. It highlights how a tech solution designed for everyone might inadvertently exclude some people. It raises serious questions about inclusivity when you make these big shifts.
Absolutely. And what about off the court?
Yeah.
The fans, the commentators?
Big backlash there, too. A lot of people felt losing the human line judges took away something fundamental from Wimbledon's character, its tradition, the whole spectacle.
That human element, the interaction, the occasional argument even.
Exactly. It changed the feel of the matches. And you also had, understandably, protests from the former line judges themselves who'd lost their jobs because of this change.
So you've got players unhappy, communication issues, accessibility concerns, fans missing the tradition. How did Wimbledon, the All England club, respond to all this mounting pressure?
Well, to their credit, they did issue an official apology. That was pretty significant.
For what specifically?
They specifically admitted the error in that Karpal-Pavlyuchenkova match was down to human oversight, the accidental switch-off, and they promised they'd update their procedures to stop that kind of thing happening again.
So acknowledging the human factor was still key.
Precisely. It was an admission that managing the system needed improvement.
And did they make technical adjustments too, besides procedures?
Yeah, they tweaked things behind the scenes, trying to build in more safeguards against human error in operating the AI. It was like they were learning on the fly how to manage the human-machine interface under pressure.
But did they back down on the tech itself?
No, that's the crucial part. Their core message remained the same. Despite these, teething problems, the Hawkeye Live technology itself is fundamentally more accurate than human eyes.
So stick with the tech, fix the human bits around it.
That was the stance. They weren't abandoning the AI. They were doubling down on making its implementation foolproof, or at least less prone to human slip-ups.
This whole Wimbledon episode, it really forces a bigger conversation, doesn't it? It goes way beyond just serves and volleys. It's about this fundamental clash, accuracy versus tradition.
Absolutely. And what we really learned isn't just that AI can make mistakes or be mismanaged. It's the deep irony, isn't it? A system built to get rid of human error was tripped up by exactly that.
It highlights that core tension perfectly.
Yeah. How do you balance the cold, hard precision AI offers with the messy but necessary human element needed to run it, to trust it, to integrate it smoothly?
It's not just accuracy versus tradition anymore.
No, it's also about managing that human factor within the tech systems. Supporters will always point to removing bias, getting near-perfect calls.
Which is a valid goal.
Of course. But the critics, after Wimbledon 2025, have stronger ground. They can say, look, the tech can fail or be failed by humans. Shouldn't experienced umpires still have the power to step in and overrule a clearly, obviously wrong machine call?
That's a big question. Where does the final authority lie?
Exactly. And accountability, too. If a human judge makes a bad call, well, they're accountable. If the AI system messes up because someone forgot to flip a switch, who's ultimately responsible then? It gets murky.
And it definitely fuels that is there no going back debate. Wimbledon went all in, full AI.
Yeah, a really bold move.
But then you look at, say, the French Open on clay courts. They're still using human judges extensively. It sets up this real contrast in philosophies. How do you see this shaking out globally in tennis and maybe other sports?
Well, Wimbledon 2025 certainly put the challenges of tech integration squarely in the spotlight for everyone to see. That debate, human versus machine officiating, it's nowhere near settled.
It feels like it's just heating up.
Definitely. And Wimbledon's experience, the glitches, the backlash, the adjustments, it's going to be Exhibit A in this discussion for a long time. Trust in the digital ref, it's still a work in progress.
Okay, so let's wrap up the key takeaways from this deep dive. Wimbledon makes this huge leap in 2025, full AI officiating.
Ambitious, aiming for perfection.
But that ambition gets tangled up almost immediately by, well, human mistakes messing with the technology.
Yeah, the irony we keep coming back to.
Which then sparks this really intense worldwide debate about accuracy, yes, but also tradition, and maybe the fundamental role of humans in sports, even as tech takes over more.
It's that paradox. Chasing perfect accuracy with AI only to find that human fallibility is still the thing that can make or break its success.
So where does that leave us?
Well, the organizers, like Wimbledon, they're working on the fixes, refining how they manage the tech. But building back, or maybe building initial trust in this kind of digital refereeing, that takes time. And connecting it to the bigger picture, outside of sport, it really makes you ask, doesn't it? As AI weaves into everything we do, where's that line? Between machine efficiency, supposed perfection, and the human touch, the traditions, the quirks we value.
That is the central question. So what does this whole Wimbledon saga mean for the future? Not just for sports, but any field where, human judgment and experience have always been central.
Yeah.
Is human error something we just have to accept, maybe even value, as part of the game, part of life? Or is hitting that perfect accuracy mark always the main goal, even if it means losing tradition or dealing with these kinds of unexpected tech headaches?
Something for all of us to think about, I guess, as we navigate this increasingly automated world. Where does the human fit?